It was an ordinary day at a luxury jewelry store in Beverly Hills. The gleaming glass counters displayed some of the most expensive pieces in the world, diamond rings, gold watches, and necklaces that shimmered under the lights. The store was busy with high-end customers browsing, but the atmosphere was one of sophistication and calm. That was until a young boy, no older than 10, walked in with his mother. The boy, named Jake, had Tourette's syndrome, a neurological disorder that caused him to make involuntary movements and noises. As soon as Jake entered the store, he began to twitch and make sudden outbursts. His mother, ever patient and used to his condition, smiled softly, trying to soothe him. "It's okay, sweetie. We're just looking," she said gently. However, the moment they entered the store, the atmosphere seemed to change. The jewelry store employee, a young woman named Megan, noticed the boy's movements and immediately wrinkled her nose. She whispered something to her coworker, clearly uncomfortable. "Can't they control that?" she muttered, though loud enough for Jake's mother to hear. Jake's mother stiffened, her face flushing with embarrassment. She had dealt with rude stares before, but hearing someone talk about her son like this was another level of disrespect. She tried to focus on helping Jake look at a display of watches, but she could feel the judgmental eyes of the employees on them. Jake, unaware of the whispering around him, continued to move and make noises. He was used to people staring at him, but today it felt different, like everyone was watching him and judging him. He reached for a watch, but as his hand trembled, he knocked over a small display stand. The sound of the jewelry crashing to the floor echoed through the store, and all eyes turned toward him. Jake's face flushed with embarrassment, his movements becoming more erratic as he tried to apologize. Sorry, he stammered, his words coming out in bursts as he twitched uncontrollably. Megan, the employee, was not having it. Instead of offering any kindness or understanding, she rolled her eyes and muttered, "Unbelievable." She walked over to the shattered display, her steps heavy, clearly irritated. "Look at this mess," she said, kneeling down to pick up the fallen pieces. "Some people just can't handle themselves in a public place." Jake's mother opened her mouth to say something, but the words caught in her throat. She wanted to defend her son, but she was afraid that doing so would only escalate the situation. Her face burned with humiliation, and all she could do was hold Jake's hand and try to calm him down. "It's okay, sweetheart. Let's just go," she whispered. Just as the situation was about to spiral out of control, the door to the store swung open, and in walked none other than Clint Eastwood. He was in town for a brief stop on his way to a meeting, and he had heard about the store from a friend. His presence was immediately felt by everyone in the room, his reputation and gravitas were undeniable. Clint's sharp eyes immediately took in the scene. He noticed Jake and his mother standing near the display, the tension in the air, and the uncomfortable stares coming from the employees. His gaze shifted to Megan, who was still crouched by the broken display, muttering under her breath. Clint's expression hardened. He had seen disrespect before, but nothing infuriated him more than seeing someone bully a child, especially a child who was dealing with something beyond his control. Clint had lived a life full of challenges, and he had a deep respect for those who faced difficulties with courage. He didn't hesitate. He walked toward Megan, his steps slow but purposeful. Megan, who had been too focused on cleaning up the display, didn't even notice Clint at first. When she finally looked up and saw who was standing in front of her, her eyes widened in shock. Clint Eastwood didn't give her a chance to speak. "You have something to say about that boy?" he asked, his voice calm but carrying an undeniable authority. Megan's face drained of color as she stammered, I didn't mean, it doesn't matter what you meant," Clint interrupted, his voice cutting through the tension in the store. "What matters is that you've embarrassed that child and his mother. You think it's okay to treat people like that?" Megan stood frozen, her mouth hanging open, unable to respond. The other employees, who had tone unyielding. "This is a place for kindness, respect, and dignity. If you can't offer that, then you have no place here. I suggest you take a long, hard look at yourselves." With that, Clint turned to Jake and his mother, who had been standing by, too stunned to move. "Don't let anyone make you feel small," Clint said, his voice softer now, more compassionate. "You're both better than that." He smiled at them and, with a nod, turned to leave. As Clint Eastwood walked out of the store, a silence fell over the room. Megan stood there, her face red with embarrassment, while the other employees exchanged uneasy glances. The message Clint had sent was clear: no one had the right to treat others poorly, no matter their circumstances. Jake's mother, still in shock, hugged her son tightly.
Subscribe to my channel.
"Are you okay, Jake?" she asked, her voice trembling. Jake looked up at her with a big smile, his earlier anxiety now replaced with a sense of relief. "Yeah, Mom," he said, his voice calm. "I'm okay." As the two of them left the store, they both felt a weight lift off their shoulders. The encounter had been difficult, but Clint's actions had reminded them that there were still good people in the world. People who would stand up for what was right, even when no one else would. Have you ever witnessed an act of kindness when it was needed the most? Where did it come from, and how did it impact you? Let us know in the comments below. And make sure to subscribe for more powerful stories like this.